Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we're journeying back in time to the bustling coast of West Africa, to a moment that would forever alter the course of a nation. We're talking about the year 1861 and the birth of the Lagos colony. Imagine the scene, the vibrant, thriving kingdom of Lagos, a major hub of commerce and culture on the West African coast. But on the horizon, the sails of the British Empire were gathering. In August of 1861, this vibrant kingdom would find itself at a crossroads, staring down the cannons of British warships. What followed was a pivotal event, the annexation of Lagos, transforming it into a British crown colony. This was formalized through the Lagos Treaty of Cession, a document signed by the reigning monarch, Obadosunmu. But the story behind this treaty is far from simple. It's a tale of pressure, politics, and power. To truly understand what happened in 1861, we need to rewind the clock a little further, to a decade earlier. The year is 1851. The British Royal Navy bombards Lagos in an event known as the Reduction of Lagos. Their stated goal? To oust the ruling Oba Kosoko, who they accused of being deeply involved in the transatlantic slave trade. In his place, they reinstalled his uncle, Akitoye, who had promised to abolish the trade. Britain framed this intervention as a humanitarian mission, a noble crusade to end the horrific trafficking of human beings that was fueling devastating wars across the Yoruba region. This action set a critical precedent. Britain had established a significant military and political foothold in Lagos. They presented themselves as allies against the slave trade, but were there other motives at play? Lagos wasn't just a hub for the slave trade. It was also a strategic gold mine for other commodities. The region was rich in palm oil, a crucial lubricant for the machines of Britain's industrial revolution. Ivory, pepper, and cotton were also in high demand. So when we fast forward back to 1861, the situation is tense. Britain's influence has grown, and their ambitions have expanded. They approached Obadosunmu, Akitoye's successor, with a proposition he couldn't realistically refuse. They argued that only under direct British rule could the slave trade be permanently eradicated and regional stability guaranteed. Surrounded by British naval power and facing the implicit threat of force, Obadosunmu signed the treaty. He ceded sovereignty of the port and island of Lagos to the British Crown. In the treaty's text, Britain promised to protect the existing rights of the people and allow the Oba to continue settling internal disputes, so long as they didn't contradict British law. But in reality, power had shifted dramatically. Lagos was no longer an independent kingdom. It was now administered by a British governor who was advised by a legislative council. This marked the official beginning of direct British colonial rule in what would eventually become Nigeria. The annexation of Lagos was a turning point. It served as the beachhead from which British influence and eventually control would spread across the entire region. Over the next few decades, Britain would use a combination of treaties, diplomacy, and military conquest to consolidate its power, culminating in the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates in 1914 to form the single colonial entity of Nigeria. But let's return to that central question. What was the true motive behind the annexation? Was it a genuinely altruistic act to stamp out the evils of the slave trade, as Britain claimed? Or was this humanitarian argument a convenient veil, a moral justification for a calculated act of imperial expansion driven by economic greed and the strategic desire for a key West African port? The truth, as is often the case in history, is likely a complex mixture of both. The abolitionist movement in Britain was a powerful social and political force, and there's no doubt that many involved genuinely believed they were doing the right thing. But it's equally undeniable that the economic and strategic advantages of controlling Lagos were immense. The end of the slave trade conveniently opened the door for a different kind of economic exploitation, one that would benefit the British Empire for decades to come. The legacy of this moment is etched into the very fabric of modern Lagos. The city's layout, its legal systems, and its role as a commercial powerhouse are all echoes of this colonial foundation. But the story of the ceded crown is also a story of resistance, adaptation, and the enduring spirit of a people who, even under foreign rule, never lost their identity. The annexation of Lagos is a powerful reminder that history is rarely black and white. It's a story of conflicting motives, unintended consequences, and the immense complexities of empire. It forces us to ask difficult questions about power, morality, and the narratives we choose to believe. What do you think? Was the annexation of Lagos a necessary evil to end the slave trade, or was it a cynical power grab disguised as a humanitarian mission? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your perspective on this pivotal moment in history. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration. Until next time, stay curious.